Hello
Hello
there.
there. Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. I'm Eli.
I'm Jacob, and today
And
we are doing a special episode of Star Wars Opinions, the segment with takes hotter than Mustafar and
absolutely,
opinions more unpopular than Princess Leia after people found out that she was Darth Vader's daughter in the New Republic. I'll work on that
absolutely,
one. I'll work on that one.
absolutely. This is Star Wars Opinions 3. If you remember, this is the third time we've done this as a special episode. This is just in between our seasons with the Bad Batch and droids, which we'll cover next, of course. And yeah, this is Star Wars Opinions 3. We did the first one as like just kind of episode. The second one we did back then at Force Fest, which was very fun, where we got to hear some other
Oh
people's
yeah.
different opinions. But we'd return to it. It's also been one of our 1/4 portion segments when we used to do that.
Rip one
Yeah,
quarter
okay.
portion.
Rip 1/4 portion. It's not dead. Like it might come
I don't
back. Who
think
knows?
did we ever officially stop? We might come back. I don't know.
No,
I don't think we ever
we
officially
didn't
stopped doing
officially
it.
stop. We just like forgot to.
We were just like, this is superfluous and forgot
No, I mean
over and over.
yeah, pretty much. Okay. So why don't you go first? Why don't you go first with your first opinion question? I'll answer it, and then you will, and then vice versa. The person who's not asking the question will answer it first, and then the person who asks the question will answer it second. Why don't you go first with your first
All right.
question?
Right. Yeah, start things off with it's a classic. It's a classic question. It's this is something that we discuss a lot in real life, just between the two of us. I can't remember exactly when the last time we've discussed this on the pod is, but so much has happened recently with Star Wars. So many new shows have come out that I just have to ask, what is your ranking of the Star Wars shows? The people need to know.
We're doing this again. We're doing this
We're
again.
starting it off
Here
with a
we
bang.
go. Starting off with a bang. Yeah, I believe I posted this on Twitter many times. I feel like.
The moment of truth. Lay it on me.
All right, so Jacob asked me about my ranking of the 11 Star Wars shows that have been released. Actually, they're not all 11. I'm not including Ewoks and droids. I haven't seen them. We're watching droids for IAG, and I plan to include Ewoks in our rotation as well. We're not including the Lego stuff either. So it's all the animated stuff: Clone Wars, Rebels, Resistance, and Bad Batch, and Tales of the Jedi, as well as the Legends Tartakovsky Clone Wars, as well as all the live action stuff: The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Andor. And here is my ranking.
So no
At number
Freemaker adventures,
11,
I take it.
what? No Freemaker Adventures yet.
Aw, Roger's sad.
Yeah. Number 11 is Tales of the Jedi. I love it, Tales of the Jedi so much. Something had to come in last. And literally my only complaint with this is how short it was. Like, it's genius. I love it. And me putting it last is literally because of how short it is. Same thing with number 10, which is Tartakovsky Clone Wars. Again, 2 hours long. Not much longer than Tales of the Jedi. 9 is Visions. Don't get me wrong, love Visions. Actually, I'll do my analysis after, and if you have any questions, yeah. But 11 Tales, 10 Tartakovsky Clone Wars, 9 Visions, 8 Andor, 7 The Bad Batch, 6 Resistance, 5 The Mandalorian, 4 The Book of Boba Fett, 3 Star Wars Rebels, 2 Obi-Wan Kenobi, and 1 Star Wars The Clone Wars.
Ow. Okay, that is not the list I was expecting at all.
No, I'm
That is
sure it
really
wasn't.
not. That is really not what I was expecting. From knowing you, even that's not. I know you always go against the grain, Eli, but even knowing you, that was not what I expected. What lifted Obi-Wan over Rebels? That is really surprising to me.
Oh, Obi-Wan's just perfect. Obi-Wan Kenobi is just perfect. I like I honestly have so few complaints about that show, and I think it perfectly like it had such high expectations for me to meet. Unfortunately, I don't try to have high expectations for Star Wars, but I couldn't deny it, and it exceeded them. Deborah Chow absolutely knocked it out of the park. Ewan did, Moses Ingram did, obviously Hayden Christensen did. Vivian Lyra Blair, who just got announced today. We're recording this on the day where the first guest announcements for Celebration London have been made, and Vivian Lyra Blair has been announced to be going to London, which is fantastic. I hope many get to meet her because she was fantastic as young Leia in Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have such a deep love for that miniseries because it does feel to me like the perfect episode 3.5.
Spot on.
Yeah. Any other questions for me on my list? My list is pretty
Oh
controversial.
gosh, I don't even know where to start, to be honest. I have so many questions.
And I will say this: 8 through 11 is pretty set in stone. 1 through 3 is pretty set in stone. 4 through 7 is the real parts of variance in my list. Like, I think I like Book of Boba Fett better than The Mandalorian and Resistance and The Bad Batch, but season 3 of Mandalorian can change some things. Season 2 of Bad Batch can change some things. All four of those, maybe less Book of Boba, but definitely Mandalorian, Resistance, and Bad Batch are pretty interchangeable for me.
Yeah. So
And
given
and let me explain something also. I love all 11 of these. It hurts to rank them. It hurts to have to put like Resistance so low or the Bad Batch so low or even like Andor or Visions so low. It hurts me, but I love all of them in different ways and for different reasons. So this is not a I hate this one. There's really not a Star Wars show that I've hated so far.
fair enough. I mean, fandom is pain, as I don't think anyone has ever said. Maybe I'll
Yeah.
say that. I don't know. Yeah, I guess no. This list, based on the conversations we've had, this is a list that
Yeah.
actually makes a lot of sense.
I know what I know a lot of people are gonna say. A lot of people are gonna be shocked that I put Boa so high.
I
And
am surprised that you put Boba over, specifically over, why over Mandalorian specifically,
and
just from your
here's
perspective.
because I think that Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, I feel like has been a bit more consistently good than The Mandalorian. The
Okay.
Mandalorian has fantastic moments. I'm not a huge fan of the first season. There's stuff I love about the first season, but I'm not like I'm not I don't love the first season as much as I love several episodes in the second season. And then the second season is on and off for me. There are some episodes that I really adore, and there are some episodes that don't quite do it for me, even though I like things in them. But the Book of Boba Fett, I like pretty much everything in that show. It's pretty consistent. It is way more like season 2 of The Mandalorian than season 1. So I feel like in a weird way that Mandalorian season 1 is kind of hurting the show because I feel like it really took until season 2 to really get things going that really fascinated me.
I see. Okay. I know Resistance is a show that you praise very highly. I think you're the biggest Resistance fan I know. Why The Mandalorian and Boba Fett over Resistance in your book?
Resistance, I still need to rewatch, and like absolutely, it has some duller episodes that I'm not crazy about. But I actually switched Resistance in the Bad Batch. That was the controversial change I was talking to you about when
Okay.
behind the scenes. I originally had Bad Batch above, and Bad Batch could still rise above. We don't know. Season 2 is not finished yet. Bad Batch actually has quite a bit of Mandalorian syndrome, except for I like Bad Batch season 1, I think, a lot more than Mando season 1, but it's only
Hmm.
been one season. But I really feel like a lot of good stuff's happening now in season 2. Like I've been liking the direction they've been going a lot in season 2. But Resistance for me is like when it's good, it's really good. It like people need to stop underestimating this show. It did not get the time it needed. It should have had at least the third season to
It should
really
have had four. It needed 4 seasons, to be honest.
uh,
Like they cut it so short.
yeah, yeah.
It was crying
They
out.
wrapped up they wrapped up the character arc just fine, but to fit it into the larger galaxy, they needed an extra season.
No, I really think, to me, it really felt like a show where it really felt, I don't know, I can't, no one can say what happened behind the scenes really, except at least I don't know, but it really felt like a show that was intended to span more time than it did.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just there's just some really fantastic stuff in it. Let's hear your list. I'm very excited to hear your list. Not dreading it at all. Uh
I guess I'll read mine from bottom to top two. So in last place of my personal preference of these fine selection of Star Wars shows. In bottom, I have Resistance, then Book of Boba Fett, then Star Wars Visions, then The Bad Batch, then Obi-Wan, then The Mandalorian, and then in fourth place, I have the Tartakovsky Clone Wars. In third place, I have Andor. In second place, I have the Clone Wars. And my personal favorite Star Wars show is still Star Wars Rebels.
Wow, I'm
Rebels,
so
baby. Hashtag
surprised.
shameless Rebels plug. You're
Yeah,
not surprised at all.
I'm not
You're
surprised.
not
And
shocked at
and
all.
and Rebels is not like Rebels is third on my list. It's just really, really solid. I have nothing against it. I really don't. Like all of them are great to me. Here's one I wonder. Why is Tartakovsky Clone Wars so high? Above The
Tartakovsky Clone
Mandalorian,
Wars,
above Obi-Wan Kenobi?
it's so high because it it doesn't really have, to me, it doesn't really have any flaws. It just sets out to do what it does, and it does that so perfectly, and it does that so delightfully, and it is just simply so enjoyable to watch that I really think it merits that much esteem. It does
That's
exactly what it needs to do, and it knocks it out of the park with its art style, its form of storytelling, everything about that. It's really great at what it does. There's nothing there's no huge criticisms I can find to level at it the way that I can when I think through the shows below it, and it's just that enjoyable. It's really, really enjoyable Star Wars for me. So yeah, that's why it's fourth in my list.
yeah, no, it's great, and I have nothing against it. It's just interesting, and absolutely length sometimes matters for me. I mean, obviously, Kenobi is only 6 episodes, but I feel like, although Tales and Tartakovsky are both great in my opinion, like they tell good stories, but like they're not TV stories exactly
Yeah.
for me. Like they're just not long enough for TV stories. But I don't hate either of them. I think they're both fantastic, and I think the Sith Lord from Tales of the Jedi is fantastic and one of the best things to be released for Star Wars in 2022. But yeah, no, your list is pretty much exactly where I thought it was gonna. Pretty much everything is where I thought it was gonna be. The only surprise was Tartakovsky Clone Wars, and I guess maybe Obi-Wan Kenobi. Although I do know that you don't like that show as much as I do.
Yeah, I think some things that I can say to clarify, obviously, Resistance, I understand that, it is a show that is much more geared towards the children. So, now at the age that I am, I know I am not the target audience for that show. And I do think that there is a lot to be said for, evaluating a show and thinking about a story within the context of what it was setting out to do. Obviously, that being said, I just think it didn't really miss the mark. The Kazuda, the main character, he just didn't really resonate with me. He really just felt, coming off the heels of Rebels, he just felt like Ezra 2.0. The Book of Boba Fett, it had its moments, but I just think overall it's the one show out of all the Star Wars shows that really makes me, when I watch it, it really makes me question, why are they doing this? And I just found it meandering. And I think that it had so much potential to really, really delve into Boba Fett as a character in a deep and meaningful way. But I think that it kind of skipped over a lot of the work that it could have really done to be excellent. Yeah, Mando and Obi-Wan, because I know I put Obi-Wan below Mando. Yeah, I just think, again, Obi-Wan, like the Book of Boba Fett, to me, I just feel disappointed by what I feel is it felt like they aimed a little bit low. Like they have these iconic characters, so much weight, so much emotion, so much history, and it just feels like with that they just aimed a they just aimed a bit low, just in terms of really, really kind of trying to delve deep and do some character work, to do something that hasn't been done before. And then, top of my list, you know, I've I will sing Andor's praises all day. I will sing the Clone Wars praises all day. I will sing Rebels praises 365 days a year, 366 days if it's a leap year. Not much more to say there, to be honest.
Yeah. And actually, I want to redress one of mine, which I'm not really surprised where it is on your list, but I think people should hear my take on this because I think it also would surprise some people. I want to talk about Andor for a second.
Oh yeah, yeah. You put Andor and yeah, yeah, yeah.
Andor, there's a lot of great stuff in Andor, but frankly, it's the first Star Wars show I feel like in a while that really was just not for me. Now, here's the thing. Do I hate it? 100% no. I like it quite a bit, but it's not the kind of Star Wars I gravitate towards. The boots on the ground rebellion, all that kind of stuff. That's just not my thing. That's not why I'm into Star Wars. I like it. It makes a good story, but I think that but just for me, it's just not what I look for in a Star Wars story. I also don't think this is just in my opinion. I don't think the season is very rewatchable. I have no desire to rewatch any of that season other than the Narkina 5 arc. I
Yeah,
just
fair
don't.
enough. Fair enough. It's funny because I I I I always kind of I don't know, I always have a hot take in the chamber, and one of those that I was kind of turning over in my mind was making some statement about like how much money I'd pay or what I'd give up to see Andor again for the first time. So I guess we fall on the opposite end of
Yeah. And and
end
I
of the
know
spectrum.
and I know a lot
But
of people like Andor, and I'm not saying anything negative about them. I'm also not excluding the idea that part of the reason why Andor ranks so low for me is because of the impact of the Andor discourse, which even for Star Wars Online discourse was really, really bad.
why would you let discourse impact how you personally
I don't think I do.
experience a show?
Here's the thing. I don't think it's not a conscious thing. I don't like
Oh,
choose
I
not
see.
to like
Okay,
it,
yeah.
but I think maybe it got a little bit in my head,
I see.
and very much because everybody was talking about it as if it was the second coming of Christ in Star Wars.
I believe that
Um
it is personally.
yeah, and I mean really it's not that everybody was talking about it like it was the second coming of Christ. It was like, "Oh, Andor is fantastic. It's so fantastic, and look at all these trash shows that it's replacing." And you just don't need to do that. You don't need to praise one thing to put another down. That's just not very nice, and that's not very inclusive in the space. And they were using it to take shots at Book and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and sometimes even the Mandalorian. And I think I all that kind of it didn't help with Andor. Again, I liked it. I love it for what it is. I'm trying not to let it impact me, but
Hey, fair enough. Fair enough.
how many
Anything more? Are
questions
you
are
ready
we
to move
through?
on?
How many questions are we through? Like that's like three or four, right? Oh no,
Yeah,
one.
I think we're done for the night. I think we're done. Okay. Well, I mean that's one that's going to take a long time. I don't
I
think
was
these
gonna
are
say
all
that's a
gonna.
long one. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that is a long one.
My first question, which you should have seen coming, and anybody here should have seen coming. We got it.
Uh-oh.
You were asking me about the years past, and now I want to ask you about the year ahead. What is your most anticipated Star Wars project that is releasing in the year 2023?
Mm, oh man. Oh, that's a tough one. So, okay, let's run down. So we've got Mando season 3.
Well, first of all, we have Bad
We have the
Batch.
bad. I know we have the Bad Batch.
Bad
That's
Batch
already
season
partly
two.
out.
Yeah.
We have Mando
Haven't
season
have you seen
3.
have you how much have you seen of season two?
I'm not fully caught up. I think I've watched all but the most recent
Okay, so you've watched the first
episode right
three.
now. I know I'm really bad about it. I'm really bad about watching Star Wars as soon as it comes out for some reason. I don't know why. I always kind of I always kind of wait and try and find the perfect moment to
The
watch
the,
it,
the, the
and
fourth one
the
is
perfect
is
moment
just a
never
fun.
comes.
The fourth one isn't very plot heavy. It's just really just a bunch of fun. It's basically the entire premise of the episode is pod racing, but what if it was like 50% more dangerous?
Oh, lovely, lovely. Looking forward to that indeed. So let's see. We've got Mandalorian season 3. We've got Book of Boba Fett. We've
Well,
got
no,
Ahsoka. Sorry,
wait.
not Book of Boba Fett, the Bad Batch, the
Yeah,
other
we got
show with a
this.
bunch of
Yeah,
B words in the title.
yeah, we got Ahsoka.
Um, we
Well,
got
you forgot about
Ahsoka.
one.
What else? What else am I missing here?
Jedi Survivor.
Jedi Survivor,
and probably Skeleton Crew as well this year,
Skeleton
as
Crew
well
as
as
well.
as well as publishing releases, which I know you're not caught up with it, and I
I'm
don't
not as
blame
caught
you
up,
because
unfortunately,
I'm
you
not
know.
either. So, but like the High Republic Phase 2 is finishing this year, and the High Republic Phase 3 is beginning in November, I believe it is.
They're just
Um,
cranking those things out. My word.
really are it's
There it is
freaking
a
incredible. Yeah.
bevy
Yeah,
of
but
work.
what's out of those, what's your most? Oh, Vision season 2, obviously. I keep forgetting that one. Vision season 2 in I think like April or May.
I'm gonna go with The Mandalorian season 3. Because when The Mandalorian started, you know, it was kind of standing alone, and now so many things have sprung out of The Mandalorian that we're now talking about the Mandoverse. So I'm really
Yeah,
interested to see what they're gonna do when we bring it back
to the main show.
to the main show 2 years after season 2 releases. Yeah, I'm excited. The trailer got me very excited. I think delving more into like Mandalorian culture and bringing some of that lore on screen, and you know there's so much Mandalorian lore in the Clone Wars and also in Legends. I think it's really interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see how you know John Favreau and Dave Filoni and everyone else is kind of involved in the Mandalorian and the Mandoverse, kind of how they choose to bring that in and how they interpret it and what they do with that. I think is going to be really, really fascinating. And I'm not sure. I'm not convinced I'm gonna love it. I'm keeping an open mind, but regardless, I'm just intrigued.
Yeah. No, I think the Mandalorian season 3 is going to be such a fun ride, and I'm very excited for it to based off the trailer. I mean, I'd be excited even if there was no trailer, but for me, it comes down to Ahsoka. I think Ahsoka. I don't think people are ready for Ahsoka. I think Ahsoka is going to be very niche. I think the people who love it are going to really love it. And I think the people who are going to dislike it are going to really hate it.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm still sorry, go ahead.
and I think that I'm hoping that people will be respectful about that. I really like I'm ready for Ahsoka to rock my world. I'm ready for those characters, the continuations of Ahsoka and Ezra Bridger and Grand Admiral Thrawn and Harrison Dula and Sabine Wren. And I understand there will probably be some controversy because they're not going to translate directly from animation to live action and blah blah blah. But I think that if you keep an open mind, if people keep an open mind, I think Ahsoka has the potential to really, and I say this knowing nothing about it, knock your socks off. I really do. I think that I think this is something that Dave's always wanted to do, and it's fantastic that he gets to do it now.
Yeah, I think the Ahsoka show is gonna be is gonna be really interesting no matter what. I am still kind of I'm still kind of upset or confused about, you know, Ahsoka's portrayal and how that's translated into live action. But yeah, I'm ready for the show. I'm ready to see what they're gonna do with it, how they're gonna make it work. So yeah, I think it's gonna be really interesting. I've said the
Yeah,
word
absolutely.
interesting way too many times now. And
Yeah,
here we are.
I think 2023 is gonna have a little something for everybody, and I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
We're getting into the golden, some like really golden years for Star Wars. I think 2022 started it, and 2023 I think it has the potential to be a better year for Star Wars than 2022, which is really saying something.
Really?
Or at least like release more Star Wars than 2022, which is also really saying something.
Yeah.
I think some people will prefer 2022's content over 2023. I think some people will prefer 23's over 22. It's just really gonna have to, like, I'm saying it has the potential. I'm not saying it's going to be.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Uh
Whose question is it?
that would be you. Number two.
Okay. Anything Star Wars. Pick anything Star Wars you want. You get to experience it again for the first
First
time.
time. Okay, yeah.
What would you pick? Anything Star Wars related. Video
I think
game,
I
movie, TV show, book, experience, you name it.
hmm. I had a gut answer, but I'm trying to think if there's any better ideas. I think I think for me, I know there are a lot of people who can't stand familiar characters appearing in live action as oft has been done very recently. But I think for me, I think it would be The Mandalorian season two. The first episode, I remember like all these rumors were circulating. We didn't know what was true. We didn't know what wasn't. And then he walks into Mos Pelgo, and and Timothy Oliphant comes to the bar and he says, "Hi, my name is Cobb Vanth," and I'm like, "No fucking way! They actually they actually did it. They actually got Cobb Vanth in The Mandalorian."
And where did
And
Cogmanth show up originally?
in the Aftermath books.
Oh, right. Okay.
And I didn't really I read them, but like I knew what a huge milestone this was. And then, and then I see a familiar helmet in the third episode. I'm like, oh my God, that's Katie Sackhoff playing Bo-Katan Kryze in live action. Holy cow. That is monumental. And then she drops the Ahsoka Tano name. I'm like, oh my God, we're actually doing this. We're going to see Ahsoka Tano in live action. And then it drops, and then we see Rosario as Ahsoka in live action. And I still love that episode. It's beautiful. And then she drops the name. Where is Grand Admiral Thrawn? And I'm like, oh my God, we are going to see the continuation of the Rebels story in live action. And then at the very end of the episode, when I was the season when I was convinced nothing else was gonna happen. Oh, by the way, remember they reintroduced Boba Fett and made me like Boba Fett, something I never thought would happen. And then at the end of the season, they brought Luke motherfucking Skywalker Jedi Knight to show him at the height of his power before he lost it all and became a reclusive hermit, which is something I love for the character, but I also want to see him as Luke Skywalker, Jedi Master Hero of the Galaxy. I'm like, no fucking way.
Did
And
they pulled out everything
they
for
pulled out
season two.
everything
Like when
for
you say
season
it
two.
back like that, they pulled
Yeah,
out everything.
yeah,
Heard.
and not even just like the characters appearing, but the things they did, like the way Bo and Din and Cosca Reeves and Axe Woes brought down that cruiser in that episode. That's a freaking amazing action sequence. Ahsoka talking with Grogu in and explaining basically Grogu's whole backstory in The Jedi is fantastic. The entire Boba Fett action sequence in the tragedy is unforgettable, and I think maybe Robert Rodriguez's best work in Star Wars. Period. And then Luke coming in, saving the day, being the hero we all know he is, and then of course we get to see a different side of him in book, but it's they're not put in just so they can put them in. They're put in to create all-time Star Wars moments.
What I
Mm,
pick? I
yeah,
have to
what would
answer
you?
this too. This is very difficult. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh gosh.
I
Yeah, I
thought you said
always
Andor earlier.
well, I said I would pay money. I said I would sacrifice things to see Andor again for the first time. And I would do this. But I also do say that, for the emphasis, for the hot take, for the splash that you need to have sometimes. When it really comes down to it, I'm gonna go with Star Wars Rebels, I think.
Wow,
I'm
such a
gonna go with
bold
Star Wars Rebels.
pick.
I know. Such a bold choice. Never saw that coming. Eli,
Daring today,
never you
aren't
never
we?
saw that coming. I know. So daring, so experimental, so bold. But
Which
Rebels to
season? Which
me,
season?
you're gonna pick a season. Okay, yeah, I
Yeah,
can't get too
I picked a
greedy.
season.
Mm. I'm gonna go with. Oh gosh, now I'm trying to. Oh gosh, I gotta think back in between the seasons. I'm gonna go. Oh gosh, there are two seasons that I'm torn in between here.
You gotta
I am
pick
going to
one.
go. Pardon?
Never mind. Go ahead. Yeah.
I'm torn between season two and season three. I'm gonna go with season three, Rebels
Season
season
3 of
three,
Star Wars Rebels. Yeah.
because
Solid choice.
this was, Rebels was such an important show to me. It perfectly coincided, or I guess my age, as I was growing up, perfectly coincided to watching Rebels for the first time. And, it's a show that can kind of grow from year to year, with the audience. This show just perfectly kind of brought me into Star Wars fandom, wider Star Wars fandom. I'd been a Star Wars fan for a long time before then. I was all over the books. I'd seen the movies, but I had never really followed along and, seen Star Wars, seen a show as it was coming out, and it was such an incredible experience. And season three, I think in so many ways was the crescendo of Rebels. As great as season four was, I still think it's season three in many ways. Just too many incredible moments to count. Every single episode just left me on the edge of my seat. I was just absolutely thrilled every week tuning back in. I mean, that it Rebels was my watching Rebels for the first time. That was my quintessential Star Wars experience. That was what really, really brought me in and kind of sealed the deal on Star Wars for me, for it being so far a lifelong passion.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Anything else for that, or should I go on to my
No,
second
apologies
question?
for the long rant.
Don't worry about
Let's hear
it.
your second question.
Well, we're currently in a season of Star Wars television right now. The Bad Batch is releasing every week, and not every. I want to make it clear it's all about what's best for the story, but just for fun, what character or group or setting that makes sense in the timeline should the Bad Batch run into in an episode of season two?
Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Now my knee-jerk response is Rocket a Prime, of course.
Really, you want them to explore some ancient civilizations? You want them to go to Rocket Prime?
No, I think that on a serious note, what would
I'm
fit?
literally legitimately your joke answer was actually interesting.
Yeah, no,
Like
I mean that's a partially.
I dig your I dig them going to Rocket Prime and seeing the invasion because we know it happened because Luthen says it when he gives the Kyber crystal to Cassian in I think it's the third episode of Andor.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Screw it. Rocket a Prime. I would love to see it. I think it kind of fits in with that background, the background narrative that they're weaving through, with the cloning and the strange arcane force cloning related technologies that they're kind of hinting at in the Bad Batch. And they're weaving it, they wove it into the Mandalorian a little bit. And I think obviously it's leading back towards the rise of Sky. I assume it's leading back towards the rise of Skywalker. And I think that, bringing in the ancient civilizations, the Rakatans, everything that they did, and what we know, the story that we know in Legends, how will that translate into the new canon? I think that could be really cool.
Absolutely, I dig adventure stuff like that.
And knowing the Bad Batch, like they would end up there.
Yeah, of
They
course
would
they
end
would.
up
Yeah,
there.
of freaking course they would. I was thinking about this earlier today, and the answer I came up with, which this would be a really crazy story, and if they did it, would be so absolutely nuts. Is that the batch crash lands on the planet Dathomir?
The planet
They
Dathomir. Oh,
wait
oh,
for
the
it. Get
post Clone Wars Dathomir. Oh boy.
well,
Oh boy.
wait,
Oh boy. Oh
wait.
boy.
Here we go. And then they run into this Jedi who has been marooned there for some time, and his name is Terran Malicos.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
And
Oh wow.
and Malicos seems all right, but he's developed like he has some dark flashes, and it seems like the dark atmosphere of the planet is affecting him a little bit. Because remember, this is before Fallen Order, where he was completely overtaken by the darkness of Dathomir. So we see a little bit of what Malicos was like before he was consumed by the darkness on Dathomir. Of course, they escape, but it's like it's like I'm picturing them as like them being like, okay, should we trust this guy or should we not? I mean, he was a Jedi, but like this planet's not really making him right. Maybe Marin can show up. Yeah, complete Fallen Order tie-in story.
Yeah, that could be really cool. Dathomir, like Dathomir after, post Night Sister domination, post, the massacre.
Yeah,
It would be so cool to see. That's a
yeah,
that's a really good
yeah.
answer.
And we have seen it in Rebels, but and in Fallen Order, of course.
Yeah,
But yeah, but
we could
yeah,
see it more.
yeah, absolutely. That was the answer that popped in my head. And that's the answer I'm sticking with. Number three.
Question number 3. Oh, I'm up. What recent Star Wars project do you think will age like fine wine? What recent Star Wars project do you think is going to improve the most with age, with context, with scaffolding?
How far back are we going? How far back is recent?
We could stretch that because I want an interest. We can stretch it as far as you think necessary. I want to hear what you think.
Okay. I think that with time, I think that with distance, I think the sequel trilogy is going to get a lot better in people's minds. I think as the kids who grew up with the sequels come out of the woodwork, and I think that as people stop really caring about the behind the scenes drama, not that it's not important, but it is kind of a different story altogether than the actual story of the trilogy itself. I think people are gonna stop like I think people are there's not gonna be as much vitriol for all of the chapters, but specifically I'm thinking of the Rise of Skywalker. The Last Jedi is absolutely divisive, and that's there's no doubt about that. But I think that people are going to ease up on the Last Jedi, but I really hope that people also ease up on Rise because there's just some great Star Wars moments in there, and I think it's a shame that people are it gets wrapped up in like, oh, how short it took to how rushed it was, and how like with the Trevorrow drama and all that kind of stuff, and with the JJ stuff. And I really do think that I really do think that people are going to start appreciating. I'm not saying like soon. I'm just saying like I'm hoping in like 10 years that people will have calmed down a little bit about it.
No, yeah, I definitely think that is on the horizon. I think that a lot of the intense anger that people feel, so that some people feel about the sequels is going to kind of, it's just going to become it's going to become noise. It's going to become, just part of the background noise, part of the tapestry of what everyone's always,
Alden,
the different things that people are saying and thinking, oh, uh-oh, I've summoned Alden. I've I've accidentally
you've
summoned
summoned
Alden.
the iconoclast to our.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's still angry at me after Chungus lost. So
Yeah. Those trivia nights get pretty, yeah, I think that I think the tone is going to become more one of, ambivalence. I think just as there's only so long that the people who really, really dislike them can still kind of say the same things over and over again. So I don't know. We'll see.
yeah,
We'll see what happens.
what do you think is gonna end? Wait, can I guess?
You can guess, but I haven't actually decided yet.
Oh, so tell me when you've decided, and then I'll guess.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and shoot for something a little like in the most recent wave
Okay, I was gonna say
of content
because
just to
I was
narrow it
thinking
down a
from
little
like
bit.
from since the Disney purchase, and I thought you were gonna say, there's this show called Star Wars Rebels.
That would be such a cop out because the way that
Y-
that show
y-
is talked about and the recognition that that show gets has already in my experience, at least from what I've seen, it's already changed
yeah, it's drastically
dramatically
improved. It's drastically,
since
drastically improved.
not even since the show aired, but since it concluded.
Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
know.
Oh, 100%.
Maybe everyone did like a rewatch of it in 2020 or something. I don't know. That's kind of how it feels. I know I sure did. Maybe more than one. Who know who's counting? Who's counting? I definitely don't watch Rebels an embarrassing amount. I actually don't. I haven't watched it in a while. I'm gonna go with the Bad Batch. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
with the Bad Batch. I think
I think
that
the Bad
season
Batch will
one,
age well. Yes.
we've already kind of discussed this, and I think we've already, I guess, maybe I guess this is a little bit of a weak answer because we've already kind of seen it demonstrated how, Andor season one, when we were, discussing the Bad Batch just the other week in our retrospective on season one, it already has kind of taken on a bit more weight because we have another perspective. We have that kind of on the ground, unique perspective that Andor brings, where it really delves into living under the Empire from an ordinary person's perspective in a really, really raw way. And that already kind of lends more gravity to everything that's kind of discussed, shown, hinted at in the Bad Batch, when that show kind of begs the question a lot of the time, like, what does the galaxy lose when a dictatorship takes over? And what does any society lose when they succumb to authoritarianism? So I
Yeah,
think that
absolutely.
as Andor as Andor continues, as any other number of projects continue, I think that that context is just going to get stronger and more compelling.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the Bad Batch is going to age very well. I think after we really see its true purpose in as a show, because I don't really think we have it right now. I think it's going to age very, very well. I already think season two is doing some really fantastic things, and I'm enjoying it immensely so far.
All right, is your turn?
I guess it is, yeah. So this is about Star Wars Celebration. As we know that Star Wars Celebration is going to be in a few months in London. We wish all of our listeners and friends in the space well as they go. We are not going to be attending because we can't make it out to London. That's just a long way from us.
Hashtag college.
Yeah, I've tried to pledge for myself that I'm gonna try and go to every celebration that's within the continental United States
Well,
in the
that's a
future.
big
And then
pledge.
of course after I do that, they plan the first one, the next one in England.
Oof.
Because of course. No, but I'm but seriously, yeah. And if you don't know, this show very much is Los Angeles based. We're in the LA area. And so Anaheim was a pretty easy journey for us. So I'm excluding that from this question. If you had to choose, where would Star Wars Celebration 2024 be?
Gosh, where would it be? I don't know enough behind the scenes. I don't know enough behind the scenes Star Wars trivia. I don't have enough knowledge in that arena to give like a really good informed answer.
It's
Some
really just
place that would be really interesting.
it's really just cities. It's really just
Oh
think
gosh.
of a city, like they have to have a convention center that'll be big enough to hold, that, and that's really it.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a place that they haven't done it that's, significant.
Yeah, and it can be a place they have. I'm just exclude LA because that feel or like our immediate area, just because that seems kind of like a cop out. You want me to read you the places that it is has been in the past?
No, that's okay. I have a pretty good gist.
I'm actually just curious, honestly.
You know, I have an answer. Maybe a bit of a hot take, slightly out of left field. but I think we could have a Star Wars celebration in Tunis, Tunisia, because so much of Tatooine was shot in Tunisia, and Tatooine, I feel like, is kind of the symbolic center and birthplace of the Star Wars story. You know,
Do
the
they have a
Skywalker
convention center?
homestead, Anakin, Luke. Tunis
Yeah.
is a city of around
Yeah.
600,000 people. I just Googled that. So I'm assuming they've got something.
I don't know. I think that might be a bit too small for a, I don't know, but
Just don't tell Anakin.
don't tell Anakin. Don't tell Anakin. Yeah, no,
Don't invite Hayden.
I was thinking more mainline, like United States cities for me because I actually want to like, no offense, but like I actually want to go to this one. I was thinking and I was thinking like where a lot of our friends in the community lived and all that kind of stuff. A lot of places I was thinking on the East Coast of the United States. I think a Star Wars celebration Boston would be really interesting.
Star Celebration Boston. You know what? You know what? As someone who I go to college in New England. I go to college in the northeastern United States. So yes, I would fully throw my weight behind a Star Wars celebration in Boston.
Yeah, and then I
I
was
would
thinking,
fully
yeah,
support that.
yeah, another idea, and I know this would be great because I know some people in the fandom who live near here. I think Star Wars Celebration Philadelphia would be really interesting.
Yeah. Philadelphia. Philadelphia's a great city.
Yeah,
I haven't been there. I've been there too much, but I've
yeah,
explored it a bit.
yeah,
It can be a fun place.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Shout out
They've done it.
Philadelphia.
They've done it in I was trying to think of like because they've done it in Chicago a bunch. I think they've done it in Chicago once or twice. I forget. They've done it in Orlando. If they follow the pattern that they're doing, because um they did because before the pandemic started, they did in 2015, they did the convention in Anaheim, and then they did it in London at the exact same place. And now for 2022, they did their first celebration back in Anaheim and then in London again. So if they follow the same pattern, the next one should be in Orlando.
I guess so. I mean,
It's,
I mean, Orlando's a classic convention place.
oh, absolutely,
It's,
yeah.
I mean, it's the Anaheim of the East Coast. I say that
Oh
as a
yeah.
West Coaster, but really Anaheim is the Orlando of the East Coast, if we're being, or
Oh,
Anaheim is
the
the
it happens the
Orlando of the
Orlando of the
West
West
Coast,
Coast.
if we're
Yeah,
being honest.
yeah.
If we're being honest with ourselves.
They're both near Disney theme parks. It's not exactly a surprise
We've got the original.
Yeah.
I will defend
Oh,
Disneyland
absolutely.
as the superior theme park to the
I will
death.
too.
I do not care.
I was just there about a week ago.
Going full
It's still
California mode.
fantastic. Yeah, it was fantastic. I will absolutely defend it. I'm just saying it's not really surprising why Disney wants them in those two cities specifically.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, of course.
What's your fourth question?
My fourth question. What Star Wars character would win a straight up lightsaber dueling tournament? Good old fashioned saber dueling. No crazy force powers. You can use the force to, like force assisted jumps, strength, stamina, things like that.
Yeah.
No, I don't know, no thought bombs, no crazy arcane powers, no pulling star destroyers out of the sky to throw on top of your opponent. You know what I mean.
But like to be clear, like force push is TK is telekinesis allowed?
Yeah, sure. Anything that's like,
And
let's
like
think anything
lightning. What
that's
about lightning?
reasonable. Yeah, lightning, sure. Anything that's reasonably dueling allowed.
Okay.
Reasonably dueling related. I
So no
mean,
large scale force abilities, but small scale force abilities are
yeah,
allowed.
small scale, push, pull,
Of all of the force users
jumping
we
up
know about in
around, flipping
canon.
off the walls. Anyone you know in canon, who do you think would win?
I mean, it's hard for me to not pick Palpatine or Yoda. Palpatine or Yoda are the two options that are from that I'm thinking right now. Just if it's everybody against one another, no allying, no teaming, no anything. I think also we're not exactly sure of how powerful he was, but I really do believe that by the time of the sequel trilogy, even though he had kind of like by the time he had returned himself to the Force, Luke Skywalker was ludicrously powerful, like
Yeah,
ludicrously powerful.
there was one person that I'm really surprised You're not.
Who were you really surprised I'm not?
Count Dooku.
Dooku's
You used to be the biggest Count Dooku
I
duelist
am
agenda
I
person
am. I
I
think he's a
know.
fantastic lightsaber duelist. I really do. I think on pure dueling skill alone, I think he's like a top contender. But but when you put force stuff in, there's no way he's getting past Palpatine or Yoda or Luke. And like people like Mace Windu or Darth Vader or Rey or Kylo Ren would give him a lot of trouble.
That's fair. That's fair. I think, I mean, I think he would put up a really good fight, just his
Absolutely. I think
combination of
you
his ability to use force powers, his mastery of Form 2 Makashi.
whoever wins this is not gonna be like it's gonna like no one's gonna win this easily. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and I think Dooku would be one of the last few people to go down. But I think that Palpatine or Yoda, just really depending on the day, honestly, are just too powerful.
Yeah.
There are debates. I know there are a lot of debates between people on who was more powerful, Palpatine or Yoda. I personally think it's Yoda. That's my own bias, but that's why I'm saying Palpatine or Yoda because if I say Yoda definitively, people are going to be like, "Well, you're biased towards Yoda," which is not wrong because I do love that character.
Yeah.
But
Love Yoda.
but yeah, I think it's Palpatine, Yoda, or maybe Luke, just depending on how really powerful he was in TLJ.
Yeah. It, it yeah. TLJ Luke, I'm not sure. I feel like just in just the physicality aspect of it, he seemed, I don't know. I don't
Of the other two candidates, he's facing an older man and an even older man. So
yeah. But I mean, to Yoda is an old man in the sense of he also can do quadruple 720 triple axle backflips across the wall, you know?
and so can Palpatine. And by the
And so
way,
yeah,
I'm pretty
Palpatine
sure,
can do the
and I'm
barrel
sure,
roll of
I'm
death.
sure so could Luke
There's
if
that
he
as well.
wanted to.
Yeah, yeah, he probably could, knowing him. Yeah. I've been with Mace Windu though.
Yeah.
My pick is Mace Windu. I think just his, I don't know. I'm fascinated by the concept of, his kind of personal form of Vapod. I think that the combination of light side and dark and the concept of the superconducting loop and of the furnace that he kind of creates within himself metaphorically. He talks about this a bit in the book The Jedi Path. I'm really
Now
fascinated by
Legends.
that
Yeah.
idea. Oh, now Legends. Yes.
Yeah.
Rip.
But
Amazing book. Still amazing book,
yeah. But I think
regardless, and well
details
worth
of it
reading.
are still canon.
Yeah, like I know. And
Yeah.
canon
But
legends, who cares? At the end of the day, like
yeah.
it's all
But
Star Wars. It can all be enjoyed.
I was specifically talking about canon. If we put in legend stuff, then then it's a completely different question for me.
Yeah. But Mace Windu's Vapod, it is still canon
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah.
I think that he has the combination, the form matches up well against anybody, the speed, the precision, the strength, his physicality, his command of the force. I think he just has in a dueling, in a lightsaber duel focused setting where it all revolves around lightsaber dueling, and we're limiting force powers to those directly involved with dueling. I think Mace Windu is taking all comers.
I think that for me, I think that I'm not convinced that Mace wins, but I think that he is one of the final few people in there at least. He is absolutely to be feared, and he is absolutely one of the greatest, most powerful warriors of his time. 100%.
Plus, he gets style
Um,
points for his purple lightsaber.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
and I'm not
Um,
sure if I guess this is not very much not canon, but he does have BMF, standing for,
yeah.
Sam Jackson's catchphrase engraved on the gold-plated handle of his purple lightsaber. What other Jedi do you know has a gold-plated purple lightsaber? Call me back when
Yeah.
you find another one. That's why Mace
Yeah.
Windu's my pick, if I'm being honest here. It's all about the style points.
It's all about the
It's
style.
not actually all about the style points, but it is all about the
Yeah,
style
okay.
points.
I was gonna say because he's actually got to be pretty powerful too. I mean, he is,
Yeah.
but like
Is he
he,
powerful because of the style?
Yeah.
Or is the style powerful because of him?
Because of him. Yeah.
He makes the
Okay.
style.
Fourth question for me. I forgot about this earlier, and I feel embarrassed every time I forget about this because I'm really excited for it. I want to go with let's talk more about Visions. What do you want to see in the second season of Visions?
Mm, I want to see. Oh gosh, I to be honest, like I can't. Visions is such a as a show. It's so out there. It's eclectic. Each episode is something different. It's so different from any other Star Wars show. If you just think about what it sets out to do, for first of all, the fact that it's not even like really part of the continuity. I really think I can't ask for it to do anything except just more of the same, Like
Yeah.
how many different ways can we kind of take the Star Wars universe, shuffle it around, stylize it, put it through someone
Yeah.
else's, put it through someone, not someone else, because Star Wars isn't one person's artistic vision anyway, but put it through the lens of another person's artistic vision, how many
Yeah.
different ways can we do that and how much can we get out of that? I don't think I can ask for too much more than that.
Yeah. I think what I'm gonna say is definitely I think is going to happen, and I'm really excited about this because Visions is season two is gonna be 9 short films, but only one of them is gonna be made in Japan. They're taking it global. I'm not sure how many people knew this.
I knew they
It's
were taking it global. I didn't know that it was primarily not Japanese animation
I
anymore.
mean, I don't know that, but it looks like it because there are 9 countries listed and 9 short films. But like, I'm really excited because we got such a very like Star Wars imbued with Japanese culture. I'm really excited to see how other cultures view Star Wars because we've been viewing Star Wars for 40 years through a very American and British lens. And not that that's bad, but how does Spain view Star Wars? There's an animation studio in Spain doing Visions. What's Chilean Star Wars like? What's South African Star Wars like? What's Indian Star Wars like? What how I really hope they imbue some stuff from their cultures because as I just think I just think it's great for Star Wars as a brand to be so inclusive, and I like seeing like this is the diversity that Star Wars desperately needs. All of these new voices looking at Star Wars and interpreting through their own various visions, pun intended. And I'm just really excited about that.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right. I think this is what the essence of Star Wars, I think, is, you know, everyone kind of bringing their own passion and creativity to it. If you just look at the way that Star Wars has kind of flourished, the way that it has, you know, been carried forward through the generations is because of everyone who embraces it, particularly the fans. And I think that seeing a project like this, where it specifically goes for a very, you know, eclectic, an eclectic approach of so many different perspectives rather than kind of one cohesive artistic vision. I think that is Star Wars. That's the essence of Star Wars to me.
Oh, absolutely. What was I gonna say? What's question number 5 for you?
Question number 5 for me is I guess I don't know exactly how to word this, but new show, new movie, your choice. What time do you set it in? What would you make it about? What would you want to see
Here we
if
go.
you had free reign?
I'm pretty sure we've done this before, but it's nice doing it in different points of time to do this. I'm still gonna go with this. I want a mini series called Episode Zero, and it's about the politics and the Jedi's role in the galaxy and all that kind of stuff leading up to Episode One. How did the
Not rock.
galaxy that out? How did the galaxy get to the place it got to, so that Episode One could happen?
like kind of
Um,
bridging the gap in between the High Republic and
yeah,
the
and
Twilight of the Republic, kind of.
yeah, and the High Republic's been doing a great job of showing like the gradual fall of the Jedi, and I'm not saying that I want any replacement to that. I'm saying literally a year before, like what were Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan up to? What was Palpatine doing to further his plans before he pulled the big Trade Federation blockade? What were the Jedi Council up to? You know, they were at peace, but like they weren't doing nothing. What missions were they on in the galaxy? What was Valorum doing? How is Valorum as a chancellor before the Naboo crisis? It sounds like pretty shit, but like, you know, we don't actually know, you know. Oh, and even like this is another one because we know he's alive. What's Darth Plagueis like? What's canon Darth Plagueis like? We know he exists. We know that he's Palpatine's master, and we know that he craved immortality and that Palpatine killed him in sleep, but they could make a completely different character in the Legends, and I'd welcome it, frankly.
Yeah, that would
Even
be
though
great.
I love Legends. Yeah. What would your answer be?
My answer would be, I think this is actually a bit different from last time, but my answer would be, I'm not exactly sure about the genre or the topic precisely, but I really, really, really am longing for something set in between the original trilogy movies, in between A New Hope and Empire, or in between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. We have so many things in between the prequels and the originals in
The
those
frickin'
19 years. We've got so much stuff.
oh yeah, but you're thinking of in between the original trilogy
Yeah,
films.
like within the
That's
original
the
trilogy.
frickin'
Like, why
comics,
are
my man.
they? I know that's the
That's
comics. I know that's the comics, but look, I
yeah.
want something on the screen. I think it deserves
Yeah.
something on the screen. And this is not a
I
diss. This is not a diss towards the comics
yeah.
in any way. There's a lot of amazing Star Wars comics. I'm gonna be honest, like I can't keep up with every new
Yeah.
comic, every new book
Yeah.
that's being released. That's not a knock on them. I don't think
Yeah.
that they are lesser or inferior or less deserving, but I'm at a time in my life where, as much as I love Star Wars, I simply can't keep up with
Yeah.
every single facet of the franchise at all times. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I do think that it's a really interesting era. There's so much cool stuff that's going on in the comics, especially I think in the Legends comics. I think the Legends comics do a really great job of expanding out that era, especially from that rebellion perspective, the post Yavin, pre-Endor, all that stuff. And I
Yeah.
really think that it deserves it deserves like a show or a movie or a mini series or something. I think there's so many
Yeah.
cool things that they could do with that. That would be really, really fascinating.
Absolutely, man. I will say this though, and I'm not trying to like criticize you or anything. I'm here's what I'm doing, I guess. I don't have time to read everything either. I'm trying to follow for me, and I've been doing this since Ochi was put in the Vader comics. I'm just Vader comics literally release, and you know, they're a few dozen issues in, but they literally release one a month. And I started when it began, and I'm not saying it's easy or anything. I'm just saying like I would really agree because I've heard just fantastic things about both the Darth Vader run. I mean, I've read the Darth Vader run by Greg Pak, the ongoing one right now by Greg Pak, and its companion, which is the regular Star Wars comic, which is written by Charles Soule.
Yeah. I've
um
read I've read the Star Wars the Charles Soule Darth Vader one. I can't remember. There's
y-
multiple different Darth
yeah.
Vader
Yeah, that one's between
comic runs.
that one's between New Hope and Empire, and those are fantastic. I'm talking about the current runs they're going on, which are between Empire and Jedi.
Yeah, I'm
And
not
are
caught up on
getting
those.
incredibly wacky and weird. Kira's having a new important role in it. So yeah, Kira's having a more important role. Sabe's having a more important role. We're
Yeah,
looking
there's great comic storytelling. There's
yeah,
great comic
yeah,
storytelling.
and yeah, I just like for people who haven't checked out the comics, please do. Like, there's some great storytelling in there. And then, speaking of comics and books and other stuff, we're down to my fifth question, right?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about Legends. Who are five of
Ooh.
your favorite Legends characters?
Oh
They don't have to
gosh.
be your five favorite Legend characters, just Legends characters you want to shout out. Let's go one by one. So, who's your first Legends character?
First Legends character, not in any specific order, not necessarily a top five,
Yeah.
but five that I think
Yeah.
deserve shouting out. Darth Malgus,
Ah, yes,
just
Malgus. I was considering
crazed
him, but
Sith Lord,
yeah,
pretty
yeah,
incredible
yeah,
as a
absolutely
character.
bulky man. Yeah, absolutely. My first one is another Sith Lord, Darth Crate,
Oh, oh, of
also
course,
known
of
as
course, of
Asherad
course.
Het. If Jared, the Dark Jedi, friend of the show, is and host of the Nerd Academy podcast, is maybe an even bigger fan of Crate than I am, but I'm a huge fan of Crate. He has done it all. Truly incredible story of Star Wars Legends. Absolutely check out Darth Crate. Absolutely check out the Legacy comics, which is his main villain. Fantastic. Love Crate so much.
Yeah.
Who's your number two?
My second pick is going to be Darth Bane. The Darth Bane
Ah,
trilogy.
yes.
Darth Bane trilogy is just fantastic reading. Fantastic.
It's so great. I didn't put Bane on mine just because he's already kind of canon, but like absolutely. Mine is the most canon of any of these five. Dirge. Dirge is canon,
Dirge.
but he's appeared in a few comics, but what he did in Tartakovsky Clone Wars and in the comics is just simply ridiculous, and I love how silly it is. I love Dirge so much. He's a ridiculous bounty hunter, and it's just so great. He's just so great. Who's your number three?
Nomi Sunrider. I'll
Ah,
just switch
yes,
this
Nomi's
pick up real
son.
quick. Jedi, mom, total badass. Everyone else is
Absolutely.
going crazy, falling to the dark side. She just puts her head down and gets it done. She's freaking awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. My third one is Jedi Master Kyle Katarn from the New Jedi
Ooh,
Order. Fantastic story in the Jedi Knight series and beyond. Staple of the New Jedi Order. Love this guy. Very much the Han Solo of Jedi in the New Jedi
yes,
Order. Fantastic.
absolutely. I
Number
put
four for you.
Cal-Katarn as well, actually. So it's going to
That's
segue straight to my number four. Cal-Katarn, yeah, great character. Absolute staple of Legends
yeah.
characters of the New Jedi Order. Not much more to be said, yeah.
Number four for me is not I cheated a little bit. It's not a character, it's a group. And that group is the Brotherhood of Darkness. What the Sith had become by the time Darth Bane came to prominence. And he later destroyed them at the Battle of Rusin, which is also still true in canon.
Really?
But I really love the dynamic of I really just love the dynamic of the Sith actually trying to share power and then just constantly sabotaging each other. There's some great characters, Lord
Yeah.
Khan, the leader, Ithany, Cordis, Kasim. There are
Oh
some great
gosh.
Sith characters.
You just I know I just shouted out this book, but you just unlocked so many memories
I know, right? Yeah.
of that Bane book. It's a
It's so good.
fantastic book. Really, really thrilling. Most one of the most entertaining Star Wars books for
Yeah.
sure.
Who's your fifth one?
My fifth pick, Mara Jade.
Ah, yes, I knew.
Mara Jade.
I was almost gonna do it. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Mara Jade has a fantastic story in Legends, and I love that stuff. I'm gonna do one of her mortal enemies, Shira Ilan Kola Bree, also known as Lumaya, Dark Lady of
Oh,
the yeah, Dark. She has a fascinating story stemming from comics released all the way back in the late 70s and early 80s. It's incredible. It's really she just has a really interesting story that spans decades and decades and decades interacting with people like Luke and Leia and Han, but also their children and their grandchildren. That's how much of a legacy this woman leaves. Absolutely crazy story. Look up all these characters for just some interesting stories. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be it for this episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy. We'll be back next week with friend of the show, Michael McCoy, our friend Michael McCoy from All Remaining Systems. We're going to be talking about the first two episodes of Star Wars Droid, the animated show, also from Legends. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter at In a Galaxy Pod. Follow us on Instagram at Star Wars in a Galaxy. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. We will be there. If we're not, email us slbinagalaxy@gmail.com. Epic Confrontations 8 has been posted for a while now. Go check that out, and all of our videos and streams on Star Wars and Galaxy, our YouTube channel. And I think that's it. And leave a 5-star rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you can. It really does help with our visibility. And until next time, may the force be with you
always.
always.